Hello, I'm Pearl, and today I'm talking about bereavement. As you might be able to hear, we've got some bells here. I'm sitting in the cathedral gardens in Chichester, and it's been a week since our Queen Elizabeth II, passed away. And many people would say that we're a nation in mourning. And I just wanted to stop and reflect on bereavement, because for a lot of people, this may be the first time that they have experienced a loss of somebody who feels like a family member. And for a lot of other people, this loss, the death of the Queen, is going to feel so hard because it also brings up a lot of feelings of the people that we've lost, people who've died close to us, and very probably the people who have passed away in the last few years, where people haven't been able to have a proper funeral. And if we think about it, that even goes back to last year when Prince Philip died, that his funeral was very different to a normal family funeral where we would have a lot of people around us. And certainly people who were grieving would have been able to sit and hold hands with somebody else. And if we remember last year, the Queen had to sit alone at the funeral because of COVID restrictions or other things. So I just wanted to give you some words of comfort, really, if you are suffering from bereavement or feeling those feelings at this time of the death of Queen Elizabeth. And I remember when I lost somebody very close to me, and it was very sudden. And one of the things that was quite a shock was all the different physical feelings I had, as well as emotional feelings. So, for example, I had a lot of aches and pains in my body, and I couldn't get warm. No matter what I did, I couldn't seem to get warm. And that was this time of year, August, September. And I remember I was sitting on a tube train in London, and there was a book somebody left on a seat, and it was written by a lady whose husband had died quite suddenly. And in it she talked about the fact this is very common. It's very common that we feel these kind of feelings in our bodies. And I actually went on to do bereavement training, in which I discovered there were so many different ways that bereavement can affect our bodies even. We can get confused and feel all kinds of feelings as well. It's not just the emotions. And for those of you who know a little bit about grief and bereavement, grief we can experience for all kinds of reasons, but we use the word bereavement for when we lose somebody, when somebody dies who's close to us. And a lot of you will know that there are stages of grief and bereavement, which are and include denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and hopefully finally acceptance. And for many of us, denial is such a powerful state that we really do get stuck in it. And one of the things I feel when I watch, on the television every day, there's been a ceremony, something going on with all the armed forces or the princes and princess. And these ceremonies, these rituals, are something that we have in many cultures around the world to help us to really start to move through our grief, to start to move out of that state of denial where we still feel that, I can't believe this has happened, I can't believe that they've died. And it can take us an awfully long time, even years, to really fully accept that somebody's dead. But denial, when we move through it, it's really about helping us to start believing that somebody has passed away. And if we stay in that state of denial, we can stay decades, really, not accepting, not moving on with our lives. And that's why all of this pageantry, all of these ceremonies and these rituals are so important. That's why funerals are so important, because they help us to process our grief. They help us to feel our feelings. And it's so important that we don't feel, even though we are British and we often have our stiff upper lip, that we don't have to hide our emotion. We don't have to pretend not to feel, and we don't have to repress our emotion. And it's so important, because when we repress our emotions, that's when we get sick. That's when we live our lives in a way that stops us from feeling, because we don't want to feel our feelings. We stay in a state of numbing where we drink too much, or we work too much, or we take drugs, or we find something else to numb the pain. So these rituals are important, as I say, and I think for me, one of the things I remember at this time is just to give myself space to have a good cry at times, to think about, for me, what the Queen means, or what other people have meant to me who I've lost, and to allow those feelings to come up and to move through them. And it's understandable that we also feel anger. It's one of those stages of grief and bereavement. It's understandable that a lot of people feel angry or irritable, upset, those kind of things, because it's natural. It's a natural part of the process of grieving and bereavement. And of course, the stage of bargaining is also very, very important. And I like to talk about this stage and focus on it because I realise how much it's affected me in my life. In that sometimes when we lose somebody, even if we've lost somebody, we're still trying to behave in a way that we somehow, in this strange way, we believe we can bring them back. We can do better, be better, and somehow it won't have happened. Which in some ways is crazy. If we bring that to the light, we can see that it's crazy. But at the same time, it's what we do. As human beings, it's what we do. We do bargaining. We think if we buy the most beautiful flowers for the funeral, we'll somehow make things better. We think if we do everything right, we pass our exams, we do all that kind of thing, somehow it won't have happened. And we can move back to a time and feel the way we did before somebody died. And of course, we can't. That's not going to happen. But we are human, and so we bargain, and we go through bargaining. So we go through bargaining. And it's really important, I think, sometimes to stop and sit down and really examine why we're doing things. Because sometimes, as I say, we can go into these states where we're doing stuff for years and years and years. Say perhaps we go into a career that someone who we love who's died would have liked us to have, but we're really just bargaining. And then we move forward, and very often we move into a state of depression. And sometimes it's hard to understand what depression brings us and what's the purpose of it. And there's a lot of negative reasons that we go into depression, a lot of negative things we get out of it. But one of the ways that I describe depression, especially when we're talking about bereavement, is that it is a time when we lose hope. And as much as that's painful and it hurts and it's sad, we need to lose hope, because we need to lose the hope that that person is coming back to us. We need to lose the hope that somehow we can make things better. We can bargain enough, we can do everything so that this will not have happened, because it has happened. And now we need to move forward, move on, and finally we get to the stage of acceptance. We can accept somebody's gone, honour their memory, and most importantly, we can enjoy our own lives. We can get on with our own lives. And that's what it's all about. That's what I do, is look at all the reasons why we stay stuck and why we can't enjoy life. And we don't move on. And we keep ourselves in places that just don't work for us anymore. We keep doing the things that don't work for us anymore. We keep ourselves in depression, in bargaining, in anger, and most importantly, in denial, because we think it's easier. Maybe it is easier than moving through, than doing the work, than just grieving and moving on to a place where we can live our lives to the full. I really hope that helps. And if you've got any questions or comments, please do put them down below, or just drop me an email, pearl@pearlescapes.co.uk. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.